journey and you're theirs too. I swim with tea when they turned in. The siren now to mute and can lend a pole that some key died.
Now let's begin our discussion of Schedule 12, which is used to calculate the Multi-Generational Home Renovation Tax Credit, commonly known as the MHRTC. The MHRTC is a refundable tax credit introduced to help Canadian families build or renovate their homes to create a qualifying secondary dwelling unit. The goal is to make it easier for multiple generations of a family to live together while providing greater independence and accessibility for seniors or eligible adults with disabilities. The illustration at the top of the slide shows a multi-generational family standing in front of a renovated home. This represents the purpose of the credit, supporting families who create a separate living space within their home, such as a basement suite or an addition, so that a senior or an eligible adult with a disability can live safely and comfortably while remaining close to family members. The visual story in the center of the slide explains the overall process. First, the family decides to build or renovate part of their home to create a qualifying secondary dwelling unit. A contractor completes the renovation work, and the family keeps all renovation invoices and supporting documents. During tax preparation, these eligible renovation expenses are entered on Schedule 12. Certified tax software then calculates the multi-generational home renovation tax credit, and the refundable credit is transferred to the taxpayer's T1 general return. If all eligibility requirements are met, the credit may increase the taxpayer's refund or reduce the amount of tax payable. The information cards at the bottom summarize the key concepts. The purpose of the MHRTC is to support the construction or renovation of a qualifying secondary dwelling unit. Eligible individuals generally include a senior or an eligible adult with a disability. As defined under the applicable tax rules, only qualifying construction and renovation expenses can be claimed, and Schedule 12 is used to calculate the final tax credit. The reminder on the right side highlights one of the most important rules. Not every home renovation qualifies for this credit. Only renovations that create a qualifying secondary dwelling unit for an eligible individual may be claimed. Ordinary home improvements or cosmetic renovations that do not meet the CRA's requirements are generally not eligible. As a professional tax preparer, your responsibility is to verify that all eligibility conditions have been met. Confirm that the renovation created a qualifying secondary dwelling unit. Collect all supporting invoices and receipts. Enter the eligible expenses accurately into certified tax software. And review the completed Schedule 12 before filing the tax return. Careful verification ensures that families receive the refundable tax credit they are entitled to claim while remaining fully compliant with CRA requirements. Now let's walk through how Schedule 12 calculates the Multi-Generational Home Renovation Tax Credit, or MHRTC, from the beginning of the renovation project to the final tax return. The process starts with an eligible family. Typically, this involves a senior or an eligible adult with a disability who will live in a qualifying secondary dwelling unit within the family home. The purpose of the renovation is to create a safe, self-contained living space that allows family members from different generations to live together while maintaining independence. Once the family decides to proceed, the home is renovated to create the qualifying secondary dwelling unit. This may involve building a basement suite, converting part of the existing home, or constructing an addition that meets the eligibility requirements established by the Canada Revenue Agency. Throughout the renovation, it is essential to keep all the invoices, receipts, contracts, and supporting documents. These records provide evidence of the eligible renovation expenses and are required to support the MHRTC claim if requested by the CRA. During tax preparation, The information from these documents is entered into certified tax software. The software automatically creates Schedule 12 and reviews several important factors. It verifies the eligible renovation expenses entered by the tax preparer, checks that the renovation meets the requirements for a qualifying secondary dwelling unit, and confirms that the necessary eligibility conditions have been satisfied. If all of the requirements are met, the software calculates the refundable multi-generational home renovation tax credit. Because this is a refundable tax credit, the taxpayer may receive the benefit even if they have little or no income tax payable. The calculated credit is then transferred automatically to the taxpayer's T1 general return. The comparison at the bottom of the slide highlights the difference between eligible and non-eligible renovations. Renovations that create a qualifying secondary dwelling unit and satisfy all CRA requirements may qualify for the MHRTC. On the other hand, cosmetic improvements, routine repairs, regular maintenance, or renovations that do not create a qualifying secondary dwelling unit generally do not qualify for this credit. The reminders on the right side emphasize several important responsibilities. Always retain invoices, receipts, contracts, and supporting documents related to the renovation. Only qualifying renovation expenses should be claimed, and all documentation should be kept in case the Canada Revenue Agency requests verification after the return has been filed. As a professional tax preparer, your role is to confirm that the family and the renovation meet all eligibility requirements, verify every eligible expense, review the supporting documentation carefully, enter the information accurately into certified tax software, and examine the completed Schedule 12 before filing the return. While the software performs the calculations automatically, accurate documentation and professional review ensure that clients receive the refundable credit they are entitled to claim under the MHRTC program. Now let's see how Schedule 12 is completed in a professional tax preparation office using certified tax software. The process begins by collecting all of the documents related to the renovation project. These typically include renovation invoices, receipts for eligible construction expenses, contracts with contractors, proof that a qualifying secondary dwelling unit was created, documentation confirming the eligibility of the senior or eligible adult with a disability, and any additional supporting records required by the Canada Revenue Agency. Complete and accurate documentation is essential because the MHRTC is based on eligible renovation expenses supported by proper evidence. Once these documents have been collected, the tax preparer enters the information into certified tax software. The software automatically creates Schedule 12 and begins calculating the multi-generational home renovation tax credit. During this process, the software records the eligible renovation expenses entered by the tax preparer, verifies that the renovation relates to a qualifying secondary dwelling unit, applies the MHRTC calculation rules for the tax year, and determines the refundable tax credit available to the taxpayer. After the calculations are complete, the software transfers the credit automatically to the taxpayer's T1 general return. Although the calculations are performed automatically, the software can only calculate based on the information that has been entered. It cannot determine whether the supporting documents are complete or whether the renovation actually meets all CR eligibility requirements. That responsibility belongs to the tax preparer. Before filing the return, always review the eligibility of the family members involved. Confirm that the renovation created a qualifying secondary dwelling unit. Verify every eligible expense against the supporting invoices and receipts, and carefully examine the completed Schedule 12 to ensure that all calculations are reasonable and supported by proper documentation. Several common mistakes should always be avoided. Missing invoices or receipts may cause eligible expenses to be disallowed. Claiming cosmetic renovations or ordinary repairs that do not qualify under the MHRTC rules can result in an incorrect claim. Entering inaccurate expense amounts may produce incorrect tax calculations. Failing to provide proof that the senior or eligible adult qualifies for the credit can also lead to problems if the CRA reviews the return. Finally, never submit the return without reviewing the completed Schedule 12. Before filing, complete a final checklist. Confirm that all eligibility requirements have been satisfied. Collect every invoice and receipt. Verify that only eligible renovation expenses have been entered. Ensure that Schedule 12 has been generated successfully, and confirm that the refundable tax credit has been transferred correctly to the T1 general return. The key lesson is simple. Schedule 12 calculates the multi-generational home renovation tax credit for eligible home renovations that create a qualifying secondary dwelling unit. Certified tax software performs the calculations automatically, but the accuracy of the claim depends on careful document collection, accurate data entry, and a thorough professional review before the tax return is filed.